it's Kevin with the Rogue Market. Actually going to do a booster box opening on this channel because I have some videos planned for the other channel. I think this actually makes a pretty topic for this channel, and I haven't given this channel any love for a couple of months now, which I do hope that I can get back to doing the financial analysis. I think the market's starting to turn again. The market follows cryptocurrency. Usually it's the dollar versus everything else, and now we're seeing collectibles actually start to recover. We've seen a lot of movement in products like Ikoria, Theros Beyond Death, things that have been stagnant. So we have this again, I just have to talk a complete video about this, and I'll get to it. I'll start doing the Market Monday videos and doing the kind of the recap and analysis on this channel. But the TLDR that I want to talk about shortly before we get over to this booster box is we went through, of course, with all of the free money, we saw everything just go crazy. And what it did is it caused a lot of overprinting, and it caused things like Ikoria, Theros Beyond Death, Throne of Eldraine to sell out quicker than they should have. And then there was more, I think a lot of them had more supply that then entered into the mix. And then we went through a period of massive stagnation to where those fell in prices. But now there's been a lot of good sales with the tax return season with those particular sets. And we're also starting to see some of the products that have been suffering, that were pretty good products, start to go back up in value. So anyway, let's get on to Kamigawa. What I like Kamigawa, why I'm actually featuring on this channel, is I think this is going to be a set that is going to age very well because the contents in the set are very good as far as you don't have like things that I think that are so busted that are going to affect Legacy Modern, but you do have these like staples, casual staples and commander staples that are going to be good for years to come. There's a good land cycle. I think that some of these lands, these weave lands, are some of the best lands that have ever been printed as far as the basic lands that people are going to go after. Now, I know they're not that special anymore with Secret Layers having special lands, with all the unstable unsets having special lands. With now we had Innistrad having special lands. Special lands aren't that special anymore, so it's just more that gets more noise that gets added to the mix of the options you have for lands. But anyway, enough talk. Let's go ahead and open this sucker up and see what we get, and I'll talk about Kamigawa as we go. So I'll just start going through the cards, commons, uncommons at first, and then we'll kind of speed things up and just kind of talk market, talk shop. So, and then we'll just go right to the rares. So set boosters are still, in my opinion, the better value. You don't get as much draft trash in there. You actually have cards from the list. They need to do a better job of updating the list. They've kept some of the cards on there for too long. We had some cards just completely get crushed in value. They had uncommons that were at one point like $10. Now they're down to 10 cents. For example, those type of things that it's very similar to what they do with MTGO Treasures. It's a good concept, but they need a better management process of figuring out where the supply and demand is with these set cards. So, or with the list cards. So with this one, okay, there's flip cards. So we go this way with it. Yeah, we go this way. I guess the art card is backwards. So you get an art card with the set booster. Set boosters have, of course, more opportunity for value with the cards like the foils and the head turners and whatnot, rather than just your typical draft packs. So we have Rugged Highlands. So again, how it works in set boosters is the first cards are supposed to work together. So like this Asari Captain is a samurai and it's paired with another samurai. So these have slots, can be, I believe, uncommons or commons in them. And then you have a ninja. I don't know if that's supposed to be the head turner. And then white card, enchantment. And then there's a series of uncommons. And I'm liking that they brought sagas back too with this particular set. I like sagas. They're a pretty cool concept for a card. And then we have our first rare is the Dragon Kami Reborn. And then we also have a foil Tales of Master Sishiro. And then the token card. So what I really like about Kamigawa as far as the value, what I was talking about earlier, is the lands. Every one of the lands have no drawbacks, just the legendary lands and commander. They have basically no drawbacks except maybe getting hit by a Back to Basics or a Blood Moon, but they're just going to be an upside. The channel lands are going to be an upside for commander, and they are going to, if they ever bottom out, they are the cards you want to be picking up. All right, so we have another card here, and then I guess so it's a land slot in these sets, huh? So here we have with the Forest, and then we have the commons. Another now 1/1 Death Touch as far as a Snake Enchantment Creature Ninja. That's a mouthful of types there. Enchantment Creature Death Touch Snake Ninja. Pretty cool card. And get on to our rare, which is the Scrap Welder. Sacrifice an artifact with mana value X. Return target artifact card with mana value less than X from your graveyard to the battlefield gains haste. Actually, this is a pretty powerful card. It would be, like I said, this set really felt like a Commander set to me, like a casual and Commander. There wasn't cards that seemed like they're going to be as good as, say, like Throne of Eldraine was just such a, like Throne would be the exact opposite. There was some Commander cards, but man, the vast majority of those cards were such heavy hitters in standard formats as far as the power level is concerned. And then we have our foil and our art card. So we got, this is so awkward that these art cards are backwards this time. The art card, and I guess you can get basic lands as far as just the basic of basic, nothing special about them. And we have the first part of our nonsense. And onto the Soul Transfer. Choose one if you control an artifact and an enchantment. As you cast the spell, you may choose both. You can exile target creature or planeswalker and return target creature or planeswalker card from your graveyard to your hand. So sorcery speed, so it's not quite as good as, like, I was saying this is just strictly better than like a Hero's Downfall, because of the exile, but it is sorcery speed. But again, if you have an artifact and an enchantment, which is pretty easy right now in the standard format or in Commander, then you can actually do both. So, and that's a very, very powerful effect for 3 mana to get a card back from your graveyard and exile something. So this definitely should see some EDH play and standard play. And there we have our first list card, which is a Noxious Revival. Can't remember how much this is worth, though, but it did at one point have some super low supply comparatively. It's a very good Commander card. Lots of people play this one as pretty good shenanigans with this card. It's pretty modern playable in some decks at times as well. All right, so let's see here. We flipped over 2 cards. We got our art card there. And then we have our land. I guess we'll keep our lands in another pile here. I don't know what I'm doing. And get on to the good stuff. And like I said, after we look at some of these, we'll speed things up and get to the juicy stuff. Love these sagas. Invoke Justice. They have a bunch of these 4-colored. They have a run of these different 4-colored stuff, which would be kind of cool if it's a permanent for Devotion. Invoke Justice. So 5 mana, return target permanent card from your graveyard to the battlefield, then distribute 4 +1 encounters among any number of creatures and or vehicles. So this is actually, so any number of targets, so +4/+4. So this is a pretty good reanimation spell for sure in white for just 5 mana. So pretty good. And our foil is the shrine, the creature shrine. And we got our token. So, other things I like to talk about too, man, the sales. If people saw the sales from Magic the Gathering, they had, of course, their best year in 2020 and 2021. I don't think it's sustainable, though, with their overprinting. We have so many dead products that are still just really hampering, like, because someone has to be left holding the bill for those dead products. So I think stores are starting to see a bit of, this is the first set that I've been able to order to my heart's content for Kamigawa, and I really don't believe, I do believe that Wizards of the Coast has fixed some of their printing issues, so they're able to get, you know, everything out on time and not have all these big massive delays like we've been used to. But also I think that stores are starting to shrug, starting to like not take as much draft and sets as they used to, and even collectors, that everything's just slowing down because they have so much inventory, where sets like Modern Horizons are still pretty hot. They'd be like, oh well, we don't have the money, we've been still buying these because they've been selling. Farewell, choose one or more, exile artifacts, creatures, enchantments, and graveyards. 1 or more for 6. That is pretty powerful for a board wipe for 6 mana. And then we have our foil, and then there's our second. This one's actually is this expensive card, or is it the black one? I think Sapphire Medallion is the one that's expensive. So we get our second list card with the Sapphire Medallion. And so far, look, the quality of the foils seem pretty good in these set boosters. These are Japanese ones, so you can tell in the pack. So it's just random how you get it from distributors, but usually when there's so much loose amounts in here, that means they come from the Japanese printers. When they're more of a tighter packaging, they come from the US printers. All right. Next up, we have a beautiful foil land. We got that, though. We have the art, so we get the foil. That's actually gorgeous. That is actually gorgeous. Those colors just pop. Beautiful, beautiful land there. Oh, I love this land. Maybe I'm a wee bit heart. All right, so get on to the juicy stuff. And we have the March of the Otherworldly Light. Additional cost to cast a spell, you may exile any number of white cards to make it cost 2 less and exile target artifact, creature, or enchantment with mana value extra less. It's actually a very powerful card at instant speed too. Artifact, creature, or mana value. So it scales quite well. And yeah, this is actually a very decent card. So good removal. Maybe I need to take back what I was saying with like the standard playable stuff. But yeah, all these though too are really good in EDH. So there's our foil. We have tip cards in this stupid thing. Throw that in the trash. Maybe I should have looked at the tip card to see what it says. All right, so no full art land in this one. We got another Windscarred Crag. And we have the rare is a Mokatu Soul Ripper. Whenever the Soul Ripper attacks, you may sacrifice another artifact or creature if you do put a +1 counter on the Soul Ripper, and it gains Menace. With a crew 2, oof, that seems actually good. Oof, oof. So it's just basically a 4/3 for 2 mana with a crew 2. That is pretty potent. Yeah, that's aggressive. That is super aggressive. And you can also sacrifice the crew token, yeah, to then put a +1 counter and gain Menace. So pretty good. That's a pretty aggressive card and a prototype. That's a neat little foil. That kind of cool little gold foiling on this one. So speaking of other things too that I guess we should just address while I'm talking about market stuff. Yeah, I wouldn't wait on Commander Legends or Modern Horizons. I think this is probably the last wave. Man, both those sets have just sold so much. I have a hard time thinking, like singles though, is the thing that's been crushed in 2021. We're starting to see like a reserve list start to gain some momentum again. But man, in 2021, that was the name of the game. All the money was shifted towards sealed products because they were such good deals. And then we had just like the singles market just absolutely get crushed. And that's why I think I've also been not doing as much videos on this channel. It's hard to predict cards going up. Like you can predict their demand, but the supply and just the amount of money that's going into sealed versus into the singles, just the amount of cards that we're printing into the market is not being able to strip the demand, or the demand is not being able to strip the supply of what's going in. Goro, Disciple of the Ruasi. Creatures gain haste. Pretty good. And create a 5/5 Dragon Spirit. Activate only if you have an attacking modified creature. 2/2 for 2. So nice little bear. And we get a double rare here. We get the Teachings of the Kirin. Mill 3 cards, create a 1/1 spirit token. Put a +1 counter on target creature control. And exile the Saga. Then it transforms into a 1/1. When it attacks, you can exile a card from a graveyard, create a 1/1. Exile a creature card from a graveyard to put a 1/1 counter on target creature control. So we got our first foil rare and another tip card that I'm going to throw. And Zach's going to get mad at me because there will be stuff all over the floor that he has to pick up now. All right, we got our another land, a little spicy land there, and we'll just kind of get to the so there's our first mythic so far in the set booster. This is Ninjutsu, the Nashi, the Moon Sage Scion with Ninjutsu 4, and whenever it deals combat damage to player, exile the top card of each player's library until the end of turn. You may play one of those cards. If you cast a spell this way, pay life equal to its mana cost rather than paying its mana cost. Woohoo! Ooh, black gets a new toy. Is this like just strictly better than like the Grave? Oh wow, and these like kind of mono black tempo decks. This sucker's sweet, and it's a ninjutsu. So, man, the thing is we have a bunch of sacrifice our black cards right now in standard. There's ones in like the ones that are being used right now is the Eye Twitch and the Shambling Ghoul or Shambling Ghast or whatever it's called, which both want to be sacrificed. But I wonder if this was going to make any of the ETB ones pretty decent, because the ninjutsu, then you get extra value off of the ETB off of the ninjutsu. That's pretty sweet with the returning it, and then 3/2. So yeah, it still works with it, and then you can start getting value off the top of people's library. So, and it says until turn you may play. It's play. Cool. So this is actually really, really cool with the play ability, because you can play lands. So sweet card. And we have these little flip cards again, because there's plenty of flip stuff in this set. Next up we have a art card, another foist, and let's just get to the good stuff, so I'm taking forever. We have the channel lands. So this is exactly what I'm talking about. I think that these are such great specs that they do bottom out because of there's no downside to just playing this in any deck as a legendary. Just a one-up. You don't have to play multiple of them just to play it. So you can discard it, and it can create 2/1/1 spirit creature tokens with haste. So, especially now in standard, I think these are going to have double dip value because now there's not as much incentive in like mono red, which is close to being a tier deck. It's very, very close. But like same with the green one, there's no downside of not being a snow land like there used to be with some of these lands. So you can just chuck this in. If you don't want to even play it as multiples, you can just play it as a one of. And there's, yeah, it's just, I mean, people did this Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth. Even though it had very little upside in the deck, the chances are that it turned one of your colorless lands into a swamp, just made it so, might as well play it. So this is the same thing. Yeah, most of the time you're just going to play this as a mountain. But the time where you're like, I'm flooded and you have 4 mana, or, you know, less because you have a legendary creature, then you can just, you know, get 1/1s, which again in Commander isn't that great, isn't that? I mean, it's not that big of a deal, but it's just one of those cards that's just free to put in your deck with no downsides. And we got an Uncharted Haven. That's a pretty foil, very pretty foil. And it enters the battlefield. Choose a color. That is actually pretty sweet too. I think this might actually be something that's sought after because of EDH decks. This isn't a reprint, is it? I don't think so. As it, yeah, can fix any color. So any color you need. So 3 and 4 color decks, 3 to 5 color decks will love this card. Alrighty. Next up, we got art card. Ooh, another foil land. A plains, a city. Pretty cool. And get to the good stuff. We have Ishin, 2 heavens as 1. If a creature attacking causes a triggered ability or a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers additional time. Fun with cards like a Tally. Anything with attack triggers, or all when attacks take an extra attack phase after this one. Whew, there's some good stuff that can be used. Yeah, this one is. I'm surprised this one wasn't higher when I was looking at EDH Rec with people building around commanders. This one wasn't up there, and this one seems like it's actually going to be one of the more popular ones to build. So, yeah. Alrighty, and we have a foil there, and we have our another list card, which is the Mist Metal Witch. But I don't think, is this one actually? Maybe that one is actually worth something. It's a cool commander card for sure. All right, let's speed things up. Otherwise, I'm going to take 9 years to do this. So we got a Swamp. Beautiful. And we have our first rare being the Kyoto Soul of the Kamigawa with the full art. Flash, when it enters the battlefield, another target permanent gains indestructible for as long as you control it. And it gets +5/+5 in the turn. So they, like, hey, let's make this a 5 ability to play in 5 colors. Cool, cool. So it gets +5/+5 if you play 5 mana. So this is actually pretty decent in the mono white decks right now. Because Flash Flying is pretty good. Yeah, this is actually super good. And even mono white. And then you can give something, flash it in and give something else indestructible. So you block, like, the opponent attacks in with a 2/2, you block it. And then you block something else with your bigger creature and then give it indestructible. Yeah, pretty sweet. Pretty good. I could actually see this playing my Aura deck. I could actually, yeah, this is actually might be a viable target because Flash is pseudo haste as well. You flash it in a turn, and then having something gain indestructible when, you know, dodge removal spell, pretty good. And we also have the Ijanu Uprising and another token. All right. So, wow, this is a weird pack. We have double lands here. I haven't seen that one before. Usually those slots were not competing, or were competing. In this one, they were not. We have the Inventive Iteration. Return a planeswalker to their hand or a creature. Return an artifact card. Return an artifact card from your graveyard to your hand if you can't draw a card. And then you can exile this saga and return it. It was a 3/3. Pretty sweet. So far, only one of the channel lands, and I think it's still Bajay's usually it's the most expensive card in the set, which again is going to have high demand for quite some time. So hey, that's only our second basic land out of the sets. These kind of pop. I like their color scheme on this one. Pretty neat little cards, or neat looking little cards. All right, so we have the Moujin of the Booming Dawn. 7 mana, enters the battlefield indestructible if you cast it from your hand and remove an indestructible counter, and you can create a 1/1 spirit creature token for each permanent you control. Well, get this guy out. That's pretty good. And then we have the Satsuku the Living Lore, so another double pack. Put a lore counter on each of the saga you control. That's pretty neat. And when the Living Lore dies, return target saga or enchantment creature you control to its owner's hand, or return target saga card from your graveyard to your hand. That is some pretty good value. Pretty good value for this card by speeding up your sagas and then getting more value out of your sagas. And we have the Naomi Pillar of Order and a Wall of Blood as our list card. Was that actually something that had low supply? That pay 1 life gets plus... Oh, I guess pay 1 life has some combos with whenever you lose life type cards. Alrighty, so next up we got the Stalker. Again, I like how those pop. We have the Tezzeret. There we go. There's our first Planeswalker. So Tezzeret, the first activated ability of an artifact you activate each turn, costs 2 less. Pretty decent. Draw 2 cards and discard 2 cards unless you discard an artifact. Oh, wow. So you just draw 2 cards and discard an artifact is pretty decent. Target artifact becomes an artifact creature. If it isn't a vehicle, its base power becomes 4/4, and you get an emblem whenever an artifact control becomes tapped, draw a card. That was pretty easy to get up to. Just pop, and then it's ready to go. And we also have the Explosive Singularity. As this will cost this ability, may tap a number of untapped creature control. This spell costs 1 less. For each creature tapped this way, it deals 10 damage to any target. So if you're in like a go wide strategy, you can actually ramp this out pretty quickly. And we have our foil. All right, so got our beautiful island, and we have Myosian of the Grim Betrayal. So put it on the battlefield under your control. All creatures that are put in the graveyard, they were put there from anywhere this turn. That's pretty insane. If you can actually hardcast this and then self-mill a bunch, that's pretty cool. And we have a normal Tezzeret, Betrayer of the Flesh. So 2 in a row. And a Scrapyard Steelbreaker as our foil. All right, saw foil land there. That's pretty. That's a pretty. Like how the, was that a balloon thingy there? How that's sort of the lamp pops here with the foil. All right, another mythic in the Goshinta of Life's Origin. Another 5-color commander. Returns our enchantment card from your graveyard to the battlefield for 5. Whenever Origin or another non-token shrine enters the battlefield under your control, create a 1/1 color shrine. So this is a shrine, dude. So, yep, this is what spiked up all the shrines. Those have gone crazy. Again, I wish I would have called this earlier we actually sold most of our shrines on Commander Night last week when all the Commander players were just oogling at this card. So everyone and their mother is going to try to build this card. So shrines went nuts. You can definitely go, if you're at your local game store, go check their M20 for any of their uncommons. If people, a lot of stores just have like uncommons in a big bulk section, and a bunch of those shrines could have easily ended up there. And so go clean them out. We have the Satoru Umezawa. So this is the number 1 card that's being built on EDH Rec right now. There's a lot of cards like Mindwrath Leech, I think is what it's called, and there's a Sphinx too that went up a lot because of this the deal damage to an opponent trigger. So this is pretty sweet with ninjutsu because you can ramp out some really expensive cards that then have, you know, so you either want ATB effects or you want deals combat damage to a player effect, because both of those are going to be the most value off of them. Attack triggers have to wait an entire turn, or value off of like upkeep stuff have to wait an entire turn. So there are some cards that did spike quite substantially because of Satoru Umezawa. So yeah, this is the most popular one at the moment. Should have done a video on it. Like I said, I need to get my act together. I know I sound like a broken record saying, I'm going to revive this channel. I'm going to revive this channel. Same with my other channels. And then, but we are, though, I hope you might hear in the background, you might hear some cars rumbling by. Right now we have our little studio that's set right next to the window of a busy main street here in Richfield. And unfortunately, we get so much of that back noise. And you can also hear we're above a dog parlor. So you might hear some dogs that are kind of crying. So what we're going to do, our landlord's making us rent the entire building now. So our rent got doubled, but we have access to, not the entire building, the entire floor. But we have access to 2 rooms we didn't have access to before. And they're a lot quieter. And so I'm going to try to move this studio over there to have a dedicated studio space. So it'll be easier for me just to, pick up videos and just point and shoot. So that should help me out quite a bit with motivation and getting things done. So anyway, beautiful, beautiful snow-covered mountain. It's not a snow-covered mountain. Let's get on to the other good stuff. We have the Hitsugutsu Devouring Chaos, another very popular commander at the time, which has sacrifice a creature for just 1 mana to scry 2, and then you exile top card of your library. You may play this card this turn when you exile an online card. This way, Hitsugutsu Devouring Chaos deals damage equal to exile card's mana value to any target. So man, this card is a powerhouse in draft. You snap one, pick this card up. Alrighty. A few more packs left. Speed this sucker up. Got the Snow-Covered Mountain again. And we have another one of the channel lands, so our second one, which just return target artifact, creature, enchantment, or planeswalker to its owner's hand. So, I mean, 4 mana to do that is pretty good. With basically, it's a free card. Like, again, you got to think of this kind of a flip card, but it doesn't even have to come into play tapped. It's just untapped, don't have to pay life, nothing. This card is just insane. Of course, that's the downside, is you can't play multiples, but who cares in Commander? I mean, this is just a really good card. Like, every blue Commander deck can just run this, no problem. Clawing Torment. And another crap card. Waste of paper. Another one as we speak out of this one. And Blossoming Sand. So are these also going to be the same slot in draft? I'll have to open up some drafts to see exactly how the slots work. Okay, so we have the Thundering Raju. Attacks, you put a +1 counter on target creature control, and then it deals X damage, where X is the number of modified creatures. Doesn't feel like a rare to me. 3/3 Haster. Okay, it's actually pretty good limited. Now I'm reading it. Hey, we got our next foil mythic, which is a 5 mana. This one's kind of dark. I don't know if the camera's picking this up with the foiling. So weird how foiling process can do that sometimes. We have another, where was the other gold foil we had, which was really nice and clear, and this one's like dark. 5 mana. At the beginning of your end step, choose target permanent card in your graveyard. You may sacrifice a permanent that shares a card type with the chosen card. If you do, return the chosen card from your graveyard to the battlefield. If this permanent would leave the battlefield, exile it. That's kind of neat with my RS deck. I can swap a 2 mana rune for like a big enchantment in the graveyard. Not bad. Spirit Sister's Call. Oh, just any target permanent. Yeah, this shares a type. That's pretty good too, because tokens can. That's crazy. Pretty good. All right, next up we got a foily Thornwood Falls, and we get the Marsh of the Burgeoning Life. 2-star creature with mana value less than X, or your library for a creature card with the same name. You don't have to sacrifice anything here. You just pump right into it. It's be pretty good. Choose a card creature with mana value less than X. Oh, choose target creature with mana value less than X. Search your library for a creature card with the same name. So you have to have a copy. Yeah, okay, you have to have a copy of the card on the battlefield. I get it. I get it, but there's still going to be some decks that will want to run that. Master's Rebuke. We got a Spirit. Oops, we're on the wrong side here. Man, we've had a lot of these instead of the lands. So maybe the lands are more rare than people are giving them credit for, because it's sharing the slots with the full art, the Mech Titan. Hey, Kevin can read, sort of. Exile Mech Titan core and 4 other artifact creatures and or vehicles you control. Create a legendary 10/10 construct artifact creature. Token with flying, vigilance, trample, lifelink, haste. That's all colors when that card leaves. Token leaves the battle for return all cards exiled with Medican core, except for the Mech Titan core, to the battlefield tapped under their owner's control. Whew, and accrue to. Okay, sure. And the Eater of Virtue, legendary equipment. Whenever equipped creature dies, exile it. Equipped creature gets +2/+0. As long as the card exiled with Eater of Virtue has flying, equipped creatures flying, double strike, hexproof, indestructible, haste, death touch, lifelink, menace, protection, reach, trample. So it just makes this weapon bigger and bigger and bigger. Equip one's pretty easy for a +2/+0. It's a Rancor effect just right there. Very, very powerful card, actually. Might be able to make equipment strategies work. I mean, Battle for Zendikar had a very big equipment strategy to it. So I wonder if Eater of Virtue can actually, pull that over the top to help those compete. Alrighty. We have the Greasefang Okiba Boss. Beginning of combat on your turn, return target vehicle card from your graveyard to the battlefield against haste. Return it to its owner's hand at the beginning of next end step. Okay, that's pretty good. The vehicle has haste. You still have to crew it, but a 4/3 for 3 mana is pretty good to crew basically anything. So is this why the Skyship Sovereign or Sovereign Skyship, or whatever that vehicle out of Kaladesh? Was that when it was printed? Anyway, is that why this sucker's going up now, because of this Greasefang Okiba Boss? Yeah, Pretty neat. Yeah, I guess that would be it. You can self-mill it. It's probably one of the better vehicles to both reanimate then crew immediately. Huh, interesting. I should actually look at these spoilers. The Dragon Kami of the Reborn also. So gain 2 life, look at top 3 cards of your library, exile one of them with a hatchling, put the rest on the bottom of your library, and then you can exile, transform, and then what we can do, we can whenever the egg or dragon you control dies, you may cast a creature spell from among cards exile without paying their mana cost. Woo! That is pretty good once this guy, so you're going to have 6 cards to work from to then hopefully reanimate into something, or animate into something huge. Dang, that's kind of cool. Kind of cool. I like it. All right, next up we have, man, I was really long-winded with this this video. We have an Invoke Despair. Your opponent sacrifices a creature. If they can't, they lose 2 life, and you draw a card. You then repeat this process for an enchantment and a planeswalker. Then repeat this process for an enchantment and a planeswalker. Okay, so they sacrifice a creature, then they have to sacrifice an enchantment, then they have to sacrifice a planeswalker. So this is going to be pretty good for Commander, I'm assuming. And we have a Witch's Eye. That's on the list? Really? That's on the list? Witch's Eye, huh? Waste of a slot. Is that even worth anything? Man, maybe I should check those in Theros, because I probably have a billion of them. Theros is still kind of the height of what I played Magic the Gathering, because I have so much cards from that era. Alright, so we have the Fable of the Mirror Breaker. I know a lot of people have been talking about this one, because it turns into the kind of Kiki-Jiki on the back. So I think this is one of the more highly sought after rares out of the set. Iron Apprentice. Goblin Shaman. Okay, got another art card. Now we're in the basic lands out of these last packs. We have a Ryu Storm's Edge. Whenever a Samurai Warrior you control attacks alone on tap, if it's the first combat phase this turn, there's an additional combat phase after this phase. Wow. Wow, it triggers off itself. But immediately that turn, you can get another attack if you're playing Warriors. That is a very, very powerful effect on a 4-mana spell. And the Bronze Plate Boar. And a flip card. Yeah, lots of cool little build-around legendary creatures in this set for sure. Yeah, right, so... Oh, I guess you have to attack alone. That's what you get. But it's still pretty decently curved. Hey, look at that. That's cool artwork. And we are upside down. Okay, we have the Tribute to the Hirobi. Each opponent creates a 1/1 rat, and then turns into Flying Haste, enters the battlefield, gain control of all rats. Whenever Whale attacks, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, draw a card. Gives you, okay, so it gives your opponent some resources at first, and then you get them back. So you're going to get 2 rats back. So 2 mana for a 3/3 and 2 1/1s if your opponent doesn't somehow use them as a resource. Which again, in Commander, that might not be. People just attack into other stuff. I think that, more of a standard card. I mean, but the backside once it does flips pretty good too, though. All right, down to a couple more packs. We have another Dismal Backwater. Yeah, the full art lands are definitely more rare when you go in set booster route. Another Kyoto, the Soul of Kamigawa, and Mirror Shell Crab. And a Bloodchief's Ascension. That's a good little pull for a list card. Another card, too, that I think is just good in any black deck. So if you end up, if an opponent lost 2 or more life this turn, you put a quest counter on it. And when it has 3 or more quest counters, they just lose 2 life whenever anything goes to graveyard from anywhere. It's a very, very powerful card. This is like, as soon as an EDH player realizes this card exists, they buy it. It's just such a powerful, powerful card. All right. The Ruthless Technomancer. Enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice another creature control. If you do, create a number of treasures in this set too. I hate treasures with a passion. It's a mechanic that I cannot stand, just throwing Lotus Petal on every card. Sacrifice X artifacts, return target creature card with power X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. X can't be 0. So create some treasures, then you can start using the treasures as resources. So March of the Swirling Mist, additional cost to cast a spell, you may excellent number of blue cards. Up to X target creatures phase out. So it's ways of protectors or like swinging for lethal. This is a very, very powerful limited card. And we do have another list card with a War Chanter of Scald needs to be on a list card, huh? Wizards? This is what's, whenever it becomes tapped. Was this out of a commander deck or something, though, or out of like a theme deck or something? Whenever War Chanter Scald becomes tapped, if it's enchanted or equipped, create a 2/1 red dwarf berserker creature token. So, okie dokie. Yeah, that wasn't just in the regular set, was it? Can't remember if it was. Last pack. See if we can get something cool in our last pack. Another Blossoming Star. I think we'll put up more of these than we did the full art lands. Okay, we have another. Okay, we have the Shigeki Jukai Visionary. Return Visionary to its owner's hand. Reveal the top 4 cards of your library and put a land card among them on the battlefield. Tap, put the rest in your graveyard, and then you can turn X target non-legendary cards from your graveyard to your hand. So this is cool. So you can mill, and then return cards back. This is a really cool effect, actually. Yeah, wow. I think this might be with a card that is one of the missing pieces for a black-green control deck that I'm working on, because this is perfect. This is absolutely perfect for it. All right. And we have an ambitious assault. So there you have it. There's the box opening. Hopefully I was able to entertain you enough with this one. Again, I really like this set. I think there's a lot of just casual favors in here. And actually, going through this, there's some pretty decent standard cards, too, that should affect the meta quite substantially. So it should be fun to see people build some decks and see where it will go week 1. But as far as financial value, I really like this set. Just the channel lands puts over the top, the full art lands. The amount of commander playables in this, the amount of, like, just the juice that Kamigawa has, that I think this is going to be a set that's going to be beloved long term. So there are a lot of other factors that go into whether a set does age well. One is if it does get opened a lot, that has a lot going against it. Sometimes it's the sleeper sets like the Amonkhet's and stuff that end up being worth a lot because, you know, they just weren't open. They weren't beloved. They were the opposite of that. And then the supply then speaks for them because, you know, demand eventually outstretches it, and then throw cards in there that people still want, and then the set just goes nuts because of that effect. So I don't know how Kamigawa will be. My sales were pretty mediocre. I mean, they're right. They were pretty much average, I would say. For this time of year, usually this is a good pre-release, so we'll have to wait and see what the attendance is like. But yeah, nothing too special so far as my pre-sales are concerned. While we're at it, might as well shill my Patreon. You could always get these, I think, set booster boxes for $92 right now. Probably in a week or two, it will go down to $90 a set booster. So what I do is my whole business model now is to I have a subscription service via Patreon. If you are interested in buying sealed product at cost, there are different tiers which allow you a different amount of products that you can buy per month, and then you can purchase them at the cost that I get them from distributors. So like I said, right now, a set booster box from Kamigawa is going to be like $92 right now, and then it'll go down to $90. You can get things like the pre-release packs. I'm sure we'll have excess of these left over. They will be like $18 a piece. Collector's editions like $180. And it goes beyond just these latest release. You can get anything that I can currently grab from a distributor is available to buy. So if you're in the market for that, I highly suggest you go and check out patreon.com/roguedeckbuilder, and I can explain it to you further there through a PM or whatnot. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. This has been Kevin with Gone Rogue Games /Rogue Market / whatever. What channel are we even on here? Rogue Market, I think. Thanks for watching.